Hi everybody, I'm Sarah and welcome to the Big Blue House Homestead. Today's going to be another one of those busy days for me because I am direct sowing more seeds. I have already managed to direct sow the beans and the corn. Got all that done. I still haven't planted the last of my tomatoes. I'm down to like 5 or 6 varieties, but I had to spend the time to put cages in, and we'll talk about that all later. But I'll get those finished today as well. I'm also busy because I need to up pot a lot of stuff. We have a huge storm coming in a couple days, and I've got things that I don't want to put in the garden in case they get damaged from the weather. Tomatoes and stuff will survive, but I'm scared that my peppers may not because their stems aren't very thick. They're a little thinner and, leggy like usual. But I want to be able to put those in the ground after the rains come, but I want to get all my seeds in so that they get nice and soaked when the rain gets here. I actually pulled out my big hat. Got my sunglasses on my head now because it's very sunny, but I've been out in the sun for like 3 days straight, not counting the work that I did to clean the garden, but just with the planting of the tomatoes and the planting of the beans and corn and everything. I am just tired of being in the sun. So it's big hat season. Yeah. Not the most attractive thing. Got my hair in a braid because I can't pull my hair up while I wear the hat. But yeah, big hat, and I got my scarf attached so I can tie it to my chin because I don't do hats very well. And look at me. I mean, now I look like that bag lady on the side of the road walking around in a flannel shirt with a big brimmed hat, my sparkly scarf, and then I've got, of course, my cooling rag. But yeah, it's big hat season. Ready for it now. But for now, I'm not going to wear it, like I said, because I'm not a big hat person. I will just keep with the sunglasses and then start with what I need to. But let's talk what I'm going to do with the sunflowers, because I do things a little bit different. I don't have big fields or big patches. I just kind of fill some areas in, and I want to show you the varieties I'm growing. And then on top of that, kind of some of the spacing that I'm going to put them in. So when they grow, you can come back and see them get big and huge and beautiful. So let's talk about sunflowers now. Okay, I did build a bed in front of my carport area to put sunflowers into, but I just haven't filled it with dirt. And you can see this is the last of the bags of soil I have. So I'm going to pace myself first, and I'm going to do my buckets and my up potting that I need to get done today. And then whatever soil's left, I'm going to go try to put into the bed to get sunflowers planted there too. But I'll show you that bed. It's just a weedy mess right now, and I filled it with logs so that we can, fill up the space, and it'll eventually break down. But the rest of the sunflowers I put into my garden. I like to put them behind where I grow my watermelons so that there's a wall of sunflowers and then these beautiful vines coming down. I like to put them into different areas, and I'll show you all of that. But the types that I'm growing this year are a mammoth sunflower. I have lots of different seeds. I'm trying to use up some of the last of the older seeds that I have, but I've got a red sunflower. I've got just a couple lemon queens left. I've got a mammoth Russian. I love the red ones. So I've got another pack of red suns, and then I've got large gray stripes. I also have a huge bag that I am going to bring out later when I do the bed, and that's all from seed I saved last year. I ended up with, I think it was like 9 really large headed sunflowers that the birds did not get to, so I kept all the seeds that I could, and I have a Ziploc bag, full. And I want to use those up too because, that's the whole point of saving seeds, is to use your seeds. So let's go talk about where we're going to put the sunflowers in, and I'm going to get to planting. Okay, I haven't cleaned up the melon mound, so I'm not going to put any in today. I'm going to clean that up when it cools down some. It's already hot, but usually in this back of the mound, I plant a ton of the larger sunflowers, so I'll plant mammoth there. And like I said, it's really pretty to see the wall of sunflowers and then the vines coming down. But once I get this hill cleaned up and add a little extra compost and dirt, I'll get them put in. Okay, so we're in the first section of the garden, which I call my enclosed garden because it used to be the only one fenced, but I'm happy I've got a fence everywhere. I never really put sunflowers in here before because I had such a small, limited space, but I do plan to put some sunflowers in where these peas are to have them come up, because once the peas are pulled, I don't have any other plants to put in there right away until I start planting cabbages and things like that again. So I'm going to go ahead and direct sow all the way down the line, a whole line of the red sunflowers. And that way, when they come up and I pull the peas, I'll have beautiful red sunflowers in here, and I think it'll be lovely. Okay, like I said, I didn't get the tomatoes in yet, so this is what's left. At the end of every one of my beds, I have these poles in the ground, and that's actually for my hose guides. When I bring my hose through, that helps it not get into the bed and squish my plants. But what I'm going to do is on the end of each of these beds, as I come down, not where the tomatoes are, but in the beds that don't have tomatoes, which is so far just this one, and the one in the back that we've planted beans in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down on the ends and just plant like 3 or 4 seeds and have some large sunflowers there. And then in this back bed, I actually planted all of my black-eyed peas, and I marked it with a stick where I stopped, but I still have room to put a couple sunflowers down on the end. And then because I have cucumbers growing up, I want to fill this space. So I'm going to plant some sunflowers in between the 2 remesh rows in here to just give some height and fill in with some color. And so I'll probably put the gray striped over here. I'll find out when I actually start to plant. And then I'll put more over in this section as well. And that'll just make a pretty wall, continuing with these, grapevines of cucumbers. Okay, with this bed, where the stick is, all the way to the scarecrow, that's all been planted with corn. But I have this whole section still open, and I'm probably going to come in and put in more beans and a row of peppers. Haven't decided yet, but it's just an empty space. But I know in the back I'm going to fill that in with sunflowers. So I have this tall, beautiful sunflower wall that goes sporadically to fill in spots. Okay, when we're over here, we're at the very end on the last long row. And I haven't planted anything in there, and it's probably just going to be full of peppers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line all the way around, across the end, and then all the way around the back to fill in all this space. And plus, if there's sunflowers, you won't see all that weedy mess. And that would be a good thing. So I want to hide that. But other than that, I come through and like right over here in front of this trellis, I have a space that I'm not going to be planting because I'm going to have beans going up. And then I'll have peppers and stuff planted in okra. So in the meantime, I'll probably stick a couple sunflowers in here as well. And that'll give me some beauty along with the vining. Okay, when you look at the ends of all these beds, not this third one that I'm standing by, but the other 2, because I have some limited space at the end that really can't hold plants, I usually transplant flowers there. And what I'm going to do is put a couple sunflowers and in between put my zinnias. So I have tall stuff and then I have big bushy stuff, and it'll fill all that space in and it'll be really pretty. Now on the end one, I did have my squash planted and I have room to still put some stuff there. So I'm not going to put the zinnias there, but I'm going to put the sunflowers, and then I can come on the other end and plant other plants there. But yeah, I mean, I've got tomatoes in the ground and they're actually pulling through really well and doing great. I think I got 127 planted the first day and like 30 the next day. And so now I still have the last bit to put in and I'll be done with those. I just goofed. I wasn't paying attention, and instead of going through my arch and walking around this bed, I stepped in it and I just planted corn there. Hopefully I didn't crush a seed, but it's all right. It happens. All right. Okay, when we look at this row, this is going to be the row where I'm putting in a lot of my artichokes, and I'm going to plant spaghetti squash on the ends, and then I'm going to have gourds growing in the background. But as you can see, I have this whole space beyond that last trellis that's just empty. So I think I'm going to fill that in with some sunflowers as well. And I want to keep this space with the trellises open just in case it blocks too much sun. So I'm going to put the sunflowers down there, and it'll just give me, like I said, short little walls here and there. Okay, ignore the weeds. I haven't cleaned up over here, but like I said, I built a bed on my carport, and it's a rather large bed. I mean, it goes almost the full length, but we couldn't do on both sides because there were tree stumps, and I haven't removed those yet, and eventually I will. But I think I'm going to fill all this in and plant sunflowers so that all this wood, rustic looking barn wood, it will actually be hidden a little bit by the sunflowers, but it'll look really pretty because then I'll just have all kinds of sunflowers. And I will fill in a mix over here. Absolute mix of everything, just to have yellow and red and multi-head, all of that. And I want this just to be all sunflowers. Oh, okay, it's definitely a hot day. This is going to be one of those times where I dread coming out in the garden all day just because it is so hot. But reality is, I got to get the work done. So I'm going to be out here taking breaks and doing what I need to. But I'm trying to stand into this little tiny shade spot. I mean, you can see my shoulders already in the sun, just to cool off for a minute. I apologize. I get red very quickly. I have some sort of histamine disorder. I'm not going to get into all that, but because of the allergies that I do have, I don't sweat the same as most people, so I just turn very red. A lot of people think that I'm having like major reactions. In fact, my kids have gotten it as well. And I remember, oh my goodness, when my oldest son was in daycare, the first week he was there, it was still kind of cold, and they didn't go out and play in the playground. And the first day they went out in the playground, I got a call. This is back when I was working. I got a call from one of the teachers freaking out. I mean, wanting to call an ambulance, all sorts of stuff, because she was afraid that he was dying. And I went, no, this is what's going on. It's just something with the histamines. And so we all get very red. We don't cool off as quickly, things like that. But yeah, I just remember that experience of having to explain it to somebody. And then I got phone calls constant. Every time he would go out and turn red, they would call me, he's red again, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, he's fine, just don't worry about it. But all of my children except my youngest have the same issues. So when you see us out working and doing a lot of things, we're usually bright red. I call it Oompa Loompa syndrome. And it's just one of those things you can't get by, you know, I can't hide it. But I just wanted to put it out there so that if you are questioning it or thinking that I'm working too hard or doing anything, no. You saw how long I just walked around, and it's because it's hot. Yeah, trust me, it'll happen a lot. But anyway, now that I got a leaf actually blocking, I was trying to avoid the leaves, but the wind keeps blowing them over. Sorry about that. I'm going to get the sunflowers planted today because I think it's important to go ahead and get them started so that they can get established. And in the next month or so, you'll start to see them growing. But when I actually get the full heads and the full walls, it'll actually be really, really beautiful. It offsets where I have all of my green trellising. So where I have walls of green that are going to be growing, I'm then going to have walls of sunflowers, and it'll just fill in the space almost like a pattern, and it's going to be really, really pretty, and I'm excited. I think it's always a fun thing to add a lot of flowers to your garden, especially since it adds beauty and it attracts the pollinators, and plus you can pick them. Most people don't, but I want to have flowers on my table. I want to send my kids out and say, hey, go pick me some flowers tonight, and we'll put them in a vase and set them down there and have beautiful flowers all the time. Besides that, I also grow them to save seed from them. I'm getting ready to do my zinnia experiment real soon. It's going to be a video all on its own because I will show you what it's like to save zinnia seeds and the leftover mass of a large gallon-sized Ziploc bag. It's great. And I have way too many seeds and I'll never use them. So I'm going to do an experiment. And I'm going to move a leaf again. But I'm going to do an experiment this year for fun. But anyway, I thank you guys for joining me. And this leaf, this beautiful, lovely leaf that wants to be my best friend today. Maybe that worked. Okay. So, sorry. Thank you guys for joining me today. I know it wasn't a very impactful, tutorial of how to plant sunflowers, things of that nature. But I'm just letting you know all the steps that I do in my garden. Because when it does come into full bloom and full glory and it's all grown and wonderful, you can then learn and do the things that I do to have a beautiful garden like I do. I do things a lot different than a lot of people, so I'm proud to share it and show it, and you'll see what I mean in a couple months when I have baskets of tomatoes and okra out of my ears and sunflowers galore just blooming everywhere, along with all of my other flowers. So thank you guys again for stopping by, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.